What's up, everybody? Welcome to Chris's CGTV. Chris, welcome to your show.
How you doing, man? Thank you for being here today.
I appreciate you having me on as a guest. So, Chris, what are we talking about today?
All right, so over and over and over again, I get the frustration that people are having when they're saying, hey, I'm not getting leads right now. So they're not getting leads, but there's no, I guess, pathway, or there's no knowledge on how to actually write that issue.
And when you say people, who?
On the phone all the time. So I'm on the phone with people via, or
like sales calls and stuff like
sales calls or Facebook Messenger and things like that too, where people are just, I'm asking, hey, what's your chief issue? What's going on in your business? And that seems to be their problem, right? And so the goal would be, as we kind of go into the new year, that this is something that we actually fix and fix for good, and not something that we have some like fly-by-night remedy for that's going to have short-lived, success, or if any at all. So the goal here is just to talk about what reverse engineering, what kind of thought model you should have if you're having an issue with leads. And even if you are getting leads right now, what things should you be doing so this is something that you can sustain and is consistent in that way. Cool.
Love it. So I think right now we can all agree that, if you know anything about crypto, yesterday was probably like, it's like, a whole slew of issues going on, and there's chaos there. Today, the stock market is actually rebounding to a point that we could end today as the best day in the stock market of the whole year. Yeah. While, last week, Facebook comes out and now has to lay off 11,000 employees. So it's like going in, it's like
there's a lot of volatility.
It almost feels like, I remember like March 17th, 2020, watching the NBA when they cancel the game, and then, Trump comes out and cancels international travel and stuff like that. And it felt like at that time, like, oh my God, like doom and gloom, the world's ending, what are we doing? And then now it's like, it's to the point where, or like right now, I think Amazon is up like 13% on the day. And it's just like, nah. It just, that's the norm at this point, where you're up that much, you're down that much. And it's just this crazy chaos thrown in with midterm elections, thrown in with, the crypto stuff. And it's just like, there's so much stuff out of our control. So today we're going to talk about what should we be doing? What should we be thinking about? So moving into 2023, because it's going to be a very different year coming into this year compared to coming into 2021. Compared to coming into 2022, this year now is very different. So
you talked about something that I want to talk about really quickly, is just kind of like controlling what you can control, because there are inevitably going to be some variables that you legitimately have no control over.
A lot.
Yeah, it's going to happen. So if it's the issue where, if you were banking on having a situation that you had in 2021 because, people were stuck in their homes, well, that being stuck in their homes caused a lot of catalysts to happen where people are maybe driving less. So therefore they don't have the same, the shiny object of the car is not, appealing to them right now. They're actually sitting in their home, actually seeing the different issues that are actually happening, in their home. Is causing frustration where they want to spend money on it right now. Maybe the utility of their home has changed, and how they actually, they're going to turn this area into an office, or I have more people in the home now on a frequent basis. That's something that you can't put in
interest rates.
Yeah.
Like if you're a home builder right now, what interest rate did you get on your home when you bought it?
2.55.
Yeah, I'm at same 2 5/8. And now it's 7, I think. So it's like, that's not something that a home builder controls. That's just, you just have to deal with it. So and recognizing that the environment's different.
Yeah. So if your environment's going to constantly be changing, what you should be doing is focusing on the things that you can control, also understanding the why behind it. I've talked about this concept quite a bit recently, but it's just really being literate on these things and not just so literal, where it's like, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this. And it's like understanding the why behind it, so that when things do change, you really have that ability to fish versus just having been given a fish before.
And jumping into this, I want to kind of just go down like that whole market offer and persuasion side of things real fast. It helps me put a lot of things in perspective where, first and foremost, if the past 2 years, the market, AKA the audience, are, the homeowners, they are chomping at the bit to get work done around their house. They're chomping at the bit to buy a new house, stuff like that. So the market really said, look, I want what you guys have. And it didn't matter as much what you were selling it for, how you sold it, things like that, because people wanted it that bad. It's like, if
it's like it's crazy comparison, but it's like the idea of good dope sells itself. So it's like it didn't matter how you're presenting it to them. It's just the fact that there's a need for it. And so because you happen to offer that service, offer that product, hey, I'm going to buy.
Yes. And that's the first thing that I just want to kind of lead off with, is just recognizing that, coming into this year, it's going to be a different year for a lot of industries. Almost everybody. Shit, look at tech. Tech a year ago was on this crazy, we're going to hire everybody. And now, these mass layoffs in tech. And even just, one of the benefits, if you want to look at it this way from an employer standpoint, was all the power over the past year and a half, because it was in the quitting economy, was in the hands of the employees. So there was a lot of things that, maybe somebody who keeps showing up late over and over and over again, because if you let them go, they can't, they're going to go find another job. They're fine. But now that, we're going into more unrest, and there's a lot of people now going back into the
office.
Yeah, like all that kind of stuff. Like, the benefit is you kind of have more power now, because the power goes back to the employer, where there's less jobs. And that's the whole idea of what, they're trying to do with curbing inflation, is stopping this whole job growth side of things. So there is a benefit to it of, now you don't have to feel like it's like home buyers. Like, it used to be a seller's market, because interest rates are so low, they could say whatever they wanted. But now on the other side, it's starting to kind of flip, where it's less people are selling because they don't want to take on a 7% interest rate because they're currently paying 3%. So now it's kind of flipping. So just recognize that it's going to be a very different year, and we can't control interest rates. We can't control all these other things, but we can control what's within our control.
100%. So what I would say is, if you're thinking right now, if you've ever thought this in your mind of, hey, how do I get leads? How do I get opportunities? I would say follow this framework. It's going to give you the knowledge that you need to be able to find a solution to your problem.
And when we started to do more of this, because we do it internally here at CGN as well, I will say as a business owner, it makes me feel so much more comfortable, and I'm okay with what happens, because it really goes down to, I'm a control person. I think most entrepreneurs are. That's why we start our own thing, because we want more control of our time, our money. Well, no, we don't want anybody telling us what to do. And this puts a lot of control back into a very chaotic environment. So I like it from a personal side. It kind of puts me at ease, where, last year I would go home and Audrey knew my wife would know within, 15, 30 seconds of walking in the door, did we make a sale, did we not? Because my emotion, how I felt, how I operated was tied to literally sales, which is ridiculous. But, once you kind of get on this snowball effect, it'd be as if you have right now, like the Minnesota Vikings are 7-1. They're not a very good team, in my opinion, because they got Kirk Cousins, so they're going to crush it in the regular season and then get, wrecked in the playoffs. But right now, they're getting attached potentially to the wins. And as soon as they have one loss, it's like, woe is me. But in reality, they're still 7-2.
Or it's the same scenario on the opposite end of that, of like Aaron Rodgers is, Green Bay Packers, or Tom Brady's, the Bucks. Like, people have been so, people in Green Bay, great people, but they're so spoiled by having Aaron Rodgers and having, great teams for the last 20 years, being an NFC powerhouse in that way. And then now they're having a little bit of issues, and it's now becoming a huge deal, right?
Yep.
So it's important to kind of be able to have that control in an uncontrollable environment.
And be okay with the outcomes, just knowing, and this kind of goes back to my mom's biggest thing growing up was look, just, you can't neglect the result. If I went to a dive meet, because I was a diver growing up, and I got dead last, she wouldn't say oh, don't worry about it, last place is still great, honey. We knew it wasn't. We didn't neglect that, but as long as, coming into it, I prepared and did everything I could to set myself up for success. On the way home from the meet, after getting last, it was you did everything you could.
Let's go Dairy Queen.
Yeah, there's not much else that you can ask for, because you were just, you just had an off day, and so be it. So All right, kick it off.
All right, so really simple. If you are looking for opportunities, looking for leads, if you've ever thought this before, if you want to be able to grow your business in the first place, this is for you. So first and foremost, the question I always ask people when they come to me saying, hey, I need leads, I want leads, the first question I always ask simply is, what are you doing right now to get leads?
Why? Why is that your first question?
Because I think that it's a good frame of reference to know where we're at. Because example would be, if someone, I get the answer quite often, nah, not too much, right? Because maybe they're early on in figuring this stuff out, but like, it's also keeping things relative, because if I have not put in energy and effort to actually get opportunities or get leads, then I probably shouldn't expect leads to be coming into me if I'm not doing anything right now. Additionally, able to dissect, like, not all lead generation is the same. Not all efforts to generate leads are the same, right? So they may say, hey, I'm running ads right now. Okay, gotcha. But to what extent? And then how are you actually running them? And then looking at like maybe why those ads are not working right now. Or I'm posting on Facebook, is there a but behind that? Because I'm posting on Facebook on my business page, but I'm not doing anything to get people to attracted to my business page. So no one's actually seeing it. So it's important to understand the right now of what am I currently doing right now to get leads.
And I would say on that, 9 times out of 10, it's not a quality thing, it's a quantity issue. It is simply not doing enough of something, not putting enough time and energy into things. It's, well, I'm not good at sales yet. Well, how many role plays have you done? 2. Okay, well, how many role plays should you do to be, before you expect to be good at sales? I don't know, probably a lot more. Well, there's your answer. So a lot of times it really comes down to, it's before we focus on the quality and exactly what we're doing, it's just recognizing how much of it are we actually doing. So if we're trying to get popular on social media and get our stuff out there, or, we're really trying to go for, let's say, TJ wants brand domination in Charlotte. He wants to be the most known pond company in Charlotte. And we say, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing direct mailers. Okay, well, how many direct mailers have you sent out? Well, I each time I send them out once a month. We'll just say for easy numbers, once a month, they send out 300 of them. It's like, okay, perfect. How many people live in Charlotte? Well, just under 1 million. It's like, okay. So you're sending out 300. So 300 people know you once a month.
Yeah.
Out of 1 million. So how can you really go, well, I want to be known by everybody if we're not even setting ourselves up for success?
Exactly.
So it's a quantity thing at first.
Yeah, and so that's important to get that baseline, because then the next step from that, asking that question of like, what are you doing right now to get leads? Then the next game plan goes to, okay, we need to understand who your ideal client is. Because example, using the TJ example, if he wants to be the most well-known person in Charlotte, okay, but by who, right? If it's simply people that aren't homeowners, so they live in apartments maybe, they, maybe not have the money to spend, a couple grand on a pond, or, tens of grands or whatever on a pond. They have no interest in ponds at all. They're not really fond of working with people like TJ, whatever it may be, right?
So a targeting issue.
Yeah. And so what you're doing is you have to understand who you're looking to actually attract. Because if you are saying, if you never actually analyzed who that person is, then what you're doing is you're throwing out a net with no understanding of what you're trying to catch. And therefore, you can't, attribution is hard enough in itself, but it's super hard to be able to do that when you have no idea what you're looking to attract.
And before we jump even deeper into that, just kind of going back one step into that quantity thing, like right now, that is the ultimate controllable, because TJ can control how many postcards he sends this stuff out to. All of our metrics here at CGN for this quarter, everybody here has 3 different numbers or activities that they're responsible for internally, and they're all controllable things. So for example, mine is, I have to have 3, on my personal Facebook page, 3 social media posts per week minimum. I can control that. Now, I can't control if people like it. I can't control if people share it or if it gets a lot of responses. All of that, I can influence it, but I can't control that. So I track that stuff because I have a piece of paper on my desk, and we all have them, that we track what we're doing. And we're going for another like ascension thing, which is like, getting more people into our SEO program. And for me, I can't force anybody to join, but what I can do is I have set aside an hour every single week to work on that side of things, just myself, like looking top down on it. So the numbers thing is, before we really start to freak out and go, well, it's not working, I don't know, it's just track what we're doing to make sure that, if we want to lose weight, before we decide that this program's not working for me, do it for a long enough period of time, not 3 days, not, well, I'm going to do it at a 200 calorie deficit, because we're not actually going to lose the weight. So I just want to reiterate that before we focus on all these other things, which are things that we got to consider, just recognize at the heart of all of this, it is simply a numbers game at first, and then we can get into the quality, which is now going into ideal client.
Yeah, so once you identify who that ideal client is, and that's, I would also, I guess, encourage you to be thinking, especially for the future, right? So what kind of jobs do I want to be doing? What's that price point kind of look like? So I kind of understand who I'm looking to attract. All right, and then the next step from that is...
Well, can we dive a little bit into that a little bit more?
Yeah.
So on the targeting side, what are some things that people should be thinking about?
About who their ideal client is?
Yeah, like how do they go through that? Because this is something it's pretty important. A lot of times we love to say as business owners, well, anybody who has money is my ideal client. And that's true until it's not.
So I know you want to stay on this idea of targeting. I think that there's a little bit of the next step that's in play with this piece. No, the reason I'm saying this is because if you think about it too, like the next step is really making sure you're focused on your brand. So you want to, one, know who you want to attract. Now you need to look attractive to the people that you want to attract, right? So a great exercise to do is simply just think about who your favorite customer you've ever worked with previously was, right? So if our favorite customer is, let's say it's Jason Rector, right? Jason is a home builder in Florida, is able to be on the lives and show up and be present, is building out a team, is growth minded, doesn't think it's going to happen overnight. All those things are valuable in that relationship we have together. And so if I understand who my ideal customer is, I want to understand, why do I like them and why do they like me? Because if in doing that allows for me to do the next part about actually attracting them, but also it lets me understand, like solidify why they're my ideal customer. Okay? I could simply say, okay, I want someone who's doing at least $1 million in revenue. That's my ideal customer. But if that does not actually go on with, I guess, the parameters of that they're growth minded, that they're willing to learn, that they see value in digital marketing as well. They know the internet's here to stay. Those are all factors that I would put into. So maybe think about all the demographic pieces as well.
So you've got the demographic, then you got the psychographic. Demographic is more, Jason is male, that's part of a demographic. Home builder, that's a demographic.
Yeah.
Age, company size, company revenue, those are all demographics. Those are all really like factual things about them.
So the demographics and infographics were
psychographics.
No, that's what I'm saying. But infographics are more along the lines, I'm pretty sure, of like the revenue and stuff like that too, right?
An infographic is just like a chart and stuff like that. That's infographics.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. So psychographics is more about how
they feel,
how he thinks, what goes through his head, coming into this. So, and that's really the bigger thing that most people don't think about is, well, you're in my target audience, you're in my target, he's got enough revenue, he's got enough of a team, he's got, he's the right character, physical, he's got people in his area that can work. But the psychographic side of things that you talk about is, he believes in the digital world. He understands that this is not going to be an overnight thing. And unfortunately, that's a piece that a lot of people skip over because they think, well, you're just in this area, you've got money. Well, why would you not, spend money with me?
So they don't subscribe to your thought model.
They don't subscribe to the thought model. So now it's either A, you go, hey, you don't subscribe to it, so we're just not going to be the right fit, and that's okay. Or B, we go, well, and this is what sales is and what marketing is we're now going to try to take Jason, who, let's just say he doesn't have that thought model. He doesn't, he believes in the internet because there's varying levels where if Jason comes to us and says, look, I don't really believe in the internet. I think all this stuff is just a waste of time. That's going to be such a long process to go, all right, man, well, first off, let me convince you the internet is a thing. Then I need to convince you that, people buy from people on the internet. Then I need to convince you that people buy from home builders on the internet. Then people buy from, a home builder's website. Then I need to get you to think that you need a website. Then I need you to think of, you need to get a website from us. So it's just so far on one side that can we get him there? 100%. And sometimes there's some switch of something we say and he goes, wow, maybe the internet is a thing and I need a website. But most of the time, if you're that far gone, it's almost like midterm elections just came up. Somebody is very, let's say, right wing or left wing. Is it physically possible for them to eventually get to be a moderate? Yes. But if I'm a moderate Democrat or a moderate Republican, and now you're trying to get me to become a straight moderate, that's a lot easier and probably a faster timeline than somebody who is extremely right or extremely left. So the psychographic side is a big aspect of it, and we have to recognize that we either just say, hey, Jason, look, man, you're too far anti-internet, we're not even going to waste our time, or we can go, you know what, we're going to slowly help educate you, and we're going to try to transform you into becoming one of our customers to get you to see that light. And it may be a one time he's on CGTV and he goes, holy shit, this is it. Or he's got to be on 3 years of CGTVs to, it took us a year just to get him to even watch this because he didn't believe in the internet, like stuff like that. So psychographics are a big piece of it. Yes, just because he may believe in us, he may believe in all these things, but he runs a tiny operation. He makes a revenue of $10,000 per year. He's barely surviving. He may believe in us and believe in what we're saying, but he can't physically make any of this stuff work. So they have to work together. And I just want to reiterate the fact that just because somebody's demographically, they have the money, they've got the 3 Mercedes in the driveway and all this stuff, and then they tell you, well, that's too much money to paint my house. And you're thinking, are you serious? Like I'm asking for 2 car payments, to paint your whole house or what, this room, and you've got cars just sitting there out. Like, hell, my mom has an Audi that she drives and she loves it. She has literally the exact same car, but 8 years later, like a newer model of it, because it was the last model that Audi made that was a stick shift in this exact car. So she actually had it shipped from Germany over here, and it just sits under a car sleeve, if you want to call it that. So she puts value into that. But then when somebody comes over and says, all right, I can reset up all your internet here to make everything work together, it's going to cost $6,000. She goes, whoa, I'm not spending that. And it's just like, Mom, you have a car that just sits there that's simply there as a backup car. So she's not right or wrong. It's just what she values. And psychographically, $6,000 to get internet that works seamlessly, it's just not worth it because she doesn't believe in that, but she believes in a car that should sit until she's done with this one to move to that one.
And that goes into the next point, which is branding, because it is super important for you not only to attract and show people that why they should choose you, but also there is a layer of making sure people know that they need to actually get your service done in the first place, right? So the real value that you're actually providing to people is also important. So once you find out who your ideal client is and who you're looking to attract, understanding your brand is the next logical step. The reason why that's so important is because you now have to look good to the people that you want to attract. It is pretty simple. So brand is not a mirror, all right? So it's not your logo, it's not your colors, it's not how you see yourself. What it really is a window. It's how others see you. So when they think of your company, when they see your company, what do they think of? Do they think of, hey, they're a remodeler? Or do they understand that, hey, there's certain things they actually focus on? Is it abundantly clear to them that you guys take care of kitchens, bathrooms, and additions, right? Do you look like a high-end remodeler? Or do you look like just kind of run-of-the-mill situation? would I call this person ever if I have a hole in my drywall? Or am I only calling them when I know that I want to get an actual space transformed? The brand also, do I think that they're a company that's here to stay? Do they look like they have longevity here? It's really hard when someone says, hey, I've been in business for 20 years, but I go online and you have 5 reviews. It doesn't add up in the same way. So you have to make sure that you are looking the part for people to actually see. It's 2022, about to be 2023. Does this person have a website? Is it easy to actually use? So like all those pieces kind of play into it. Does this person actually educating online? I saw the other day, someone sent me a PDF that they sent over to their customers. And the PDF has a lot of different like lines on it and check marks. So one of the check marks says, has this contractor done over 200 successful jobs? Check mark, right? Because their goal is to show somebody, hey, that I actually can solve someone's problem, right? But a lot more efficient way than to beat yourself over the chest and say, yes, I've done this, is to show it, is to say, okay, great. Even if you haven't done 200, jobs previously, but I can talk to you about a job that's similar to yours. I'm actually educating people online, taking that time so people actually know that you actually can solve my problem. Because when this whole buying idea, people's biggest concern when they're purchasing anything is very simple. It's simply, am I making the right decision? It's just that simple. Am I making the right decision with going with this company versus this company? Am I making the right decision because it's going to be this much of a headache because this person doesn't answer the phone? Am I making the right decision because of this price point? Am I being taken advantage of? Should I spend my money somewhere else and get a better ROI from it? That's people's mindset. Am I making the right decision? So you have a responsibility of easing that pain, letting them understand that they actually are making the right decision, and your brand is a big piece of that. I say all that to say this. A lot of times in this whole narrative of finding out how do I get leads, people do things in the wrong order. Example of that would be, okay, I'm running ads, all right? And I'm running ads, but I don't actually understand how ads actually work. What happens is, what an ad does is you're spending money to get people back to your overarching brand, all right? So people are looking for the service, okay, great, they go back to your brand. But if your brand is not converting, then you might as well just be wasting money, because it does not actually help convert in the way that you want it to happen. So if you focus on your brand first and make sure that you actually look the part in this way, it's going to help for the longevity piece. So I know this may be not the quick fix people actually want, but just recognize that the end goal is not to just get leads right now, not just get closed jobs right now. It really is to have a system so that you're not in this spot ever again. That's able to happen in a consistent way. All right, so once you focus on that brand piece, the next logical step is to think about your actual offer. All right, think about what you're actually providing to your customer and how you provide it to them. Is it a situation where you are getting all of the, you're getting all the materials for them? Are you helping them kind of walk through that process? Is it simple to work with you? Are you doing the permitting pieces yourself? All those parts are important. One of the things we really harp on is really having like a 5-year warranty in most situations, right? So I'll ask you this question. So every single person I'm talking to on the phone, maybe talking to on this podcast as well, I imagine that they would tell me that they do great quality work. That's the reason why people should buy from them, because they do great quality work. Well, if that's the case, then think about how you are expressing that message to the actual homeowner. Because if I'm a home builder and you're a home builder, neither one of us is going to go out and say, hey, I do subpar quality work. No one's going to say that. I'm going to tell you, hey, I do a great job too. And that very well may be true. But if I have a 5-year warranty on all my jobs, it's super important. One of the most important things about an offer is that people don't feel stuck in the decision. Because once again, remember, anyone buying anything, their biggest concern is, am I making the right decision? And if I have to make a decision, I don't want to feel stuck in my decision. Example would be, if I have a 5-year warranty, I feel as if, hey, I'm spending $80,000 on maybe this kitchen, but I feel like I'm not stuck because I got 5 years of, they're going to take care of me in 5 years from now, post this situation, and I'm still good to go. The same thing happens whenever we do like an audit for somebody. They recognize that, yes, I need to have a roadmap. I need to have a game plan. I need to be able to actually see what's going on in my area, which is super impactful. But when I tell them, hey, realistically, you can use that money as a credit towards your website, then it's like, okay, gotcha. I don't feel like I'm making a stuck decision right now. It's something that I can kind of build off of. Same thing with a consultation or a design phase. It's a lot easier to sell a design first because I don't feel stuck in making this decision. And so when you're actually thinking about your offer and how you actually present it to people, those are the factors you should be thinking about as well. Because even thinking about that 5-year warranty, it's not really for the homeowner. It's really for the contractor because it normalizes the idea of follow-up. If you recognize that, hey, I'm getting leads right now from word of mouth and repeat customers and referrals, well, don't let that just be happens chance. Actually, have a system that is proactive in that way. So if I know that people are sometimes buying from me and buying again, or people are buying from me and want to refer me out to other people, why not reach out to people every 6 months and say, hey, Logan, how's that kitchen going that we built for you? Okay, great. I have a couple different opportunities from there. I can reach out to you and see if it makes sense for us to have a in-home testimonial, kind of doing a walkthrough of your kitchen to show more people about what you got going on. I can get a review from you if I have not just yet. I can ask you the question, hey, is there anything else in your area that makes sense for us to kind of look at? Or I can also ask the question of, hey, does it make sense for us to reach out to anybody else that you know to take care of them in a similar way? So there's all these different ways and methods I can utilize, but I'm utilizing this system to be able to attract and generate more leads in the long term through a consistent basis. Because you do not know when people are going to be ready to buy. You do not know those uncontrollable pieces. Right now, are you competing with the economy where people want to keep money close to their chest so it's free flowing? Are you competing with the idea that I'm stuck in the house, so now I'm seeing this more often? Or maybe now post-COVID, we all want to get outside, so now because we've been stuck in the house and now we want to be able to have like outdoor living spaces, or we want to put some attention on that deck that we didn't spend time on for the last 2 years. So though you can't control all those things, but what you can control is making sure that you're consistently out there, so when people are ready to buy, they see your face and they see that you actually can solve their problem.
There's a show called Nathan For You that I love. It's hilarious. It's a spoof on The Prophet. This guy goes in, he's a comedian, and he helps businesses typically grow, generate revenue, but he does it in like silly ways where, there was one, Halloween just passed where the goal was to go into this, and it's all satire. The business owner, I think, kind of knows, but they go into this haunted house and he says, look, the best thing to really make your haunted house stand out is we want it to be so scary that people sue you. So he goes through this intricate plan of making it so scary that he then convinces the people going through it that one of the villains touched them and made them have some deadly disease. And at the end of the haunted house, after they're at the hospital, that's part of the haunted house. He then has a lawyer there who says, hey, if you want to sue them, we can do it. So it's like stupid stuff. But he did one where this guy he just had like a hamburger shop on the side of the road in LA. And he said, I got an idea for you. How good are your hamburgers? And the guy says, best in LA, guaranteed. And Nathan said, all right, well, let's do this. We'll make this guarantee where if it's not the best hamburger that people taste, you give them $100. And what do you think the business owner said?
No.
No way. No. He goes, well, what do you mean? You're telling me it's the best? He goes, yeah, it's the best, but I'm not going to give them $100 if they don't think it's the best. And the guy was like, well, I thought it is. So it's the same thing
They're not
here.
staying behind it.
Yeah, and I get that because then the show it's all a joke, and Nathan ends up saying, well, I'll pay for it and all this kind of stuff. So it's very funny as they do it, but that's a lot of what we do where it is the best and it is the most amazing thing. And it's like, well, do you stand behind your work? Well, no, I can't do that. And it's like, well, I thought it was the best. So either in those circumstances, either we figure out a way to make it the best, or we say, look, there are circumstances here, like with let's say a warranty, right? You can warranty if something breaks. Like that's why there's typically a workmanship warranty, which is if we installed it incorrectly, we did something wrong, yeah, we'll come out, we'll replace it, it's on us, no big deal. But if we install it, and then a Category 5 hurricane comes through Charlotte, which is not an area that is ready for a Category 1, let alone a 5, and it blows the whole house down. We're not responsible for rebuilding the kitchen because that's out of our control. So that's what a lot of this comes down to, is I think people feel as if like, well, I can't put a warranty on it because what if we did it wrong and this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, that's fine, but that's when, if you're going to have these warranties, and there's a guy out in Denver, and I love that he does it, Nick May, with painting. He does lifetime touch-ups for painting, and he's all interior, and that's what makes him stand out, is he's at the high end of the market. But when you're hiring a painting contractor, you don't want streaks. You know that wear and tear is going to happen. He will come out there once a year for an hour, and he's like, Logan, I'm out there with like a paintbrush. I'm not re-rolling anything. I'm just doing touch-ups. He's like, we'll do that, no problem. And that now in people's eyes are like, okay, well, this guy's different. Like, he's higher priced, but it's going to look good every year because he's going to come back out for free. It's not really for free. He's baking it into the cost up front. Plus, he's factoring in, I talked to him, 8% of people take him up on that offer each year. It's not every single person. It's 8% of people. But then when he's out there and they're touching up the kitchen, they're also out there looking at other aspects of the house. So he's back in there and he's building up the relationships again, but he's putting his money where his mouth is by saying, if this does not, if this doesn't look great every single year, we want to make it right, so we'll come back out there. So that's really what it comes down to. And I remember having this discussion with somebody who was a foundation repair contractor, where they were like, Logan, our stuff, it's not going to sink, it's not going to crack, eventually it will at some point, but we're good. And I was like, what if you put like a 20-year warranty on it? It's like, I don't know about that. And it's like, well, that's fine, but just recognize it's very hard to then stand on the grounds of this will last forever. And then it's like, well, if it lasts forever, then tell me this. And it's like, well, it can't actually, and we can't actually guarantee that. So, and that's okay. You can't, guarantee that somebody's going to love their kitchen, because stuff happens. Like, we can build you a website and we can do it in what we talked about and all the stuff.
All the fundamental,
all of it.
Yeah.
But I can't guarantee that you're going to look at it and think this is the greatest website I've ever seen. I mean, that's our goal and that's what we're striving for, but nobody can guarantee any of that stuff. So sometimes when we make those claims and then it's like time to back it up, unfortunately, there's too many factors at play here. And we all do it, but then it's funny, we then turn around and expect something different. So, a contractor is like, well, I'm the best, I know I'm the best, but I can't guarantee it. But then they turn around, and I mean, we do the same thing of like, hey, if you're telling me this is going to do this, can you guarantee it? No, I can't guarantee it. And if we're like, well, I'm out, it really just comes down to ensuring that the product is as good as possible and be realistic about it.
Well, I think the biggest piece is, like you talked about there, it really comes down, once again, with your offer, are you charging the right price too? Because if you had this model where you have 8% of people, so let's imagine you do 100 projects and 8 people are going to come back and take you up on this offer of the guarantee that you actually have. Well, the thing is this, if you know that you're doing a good job, doing quality work, and this bathroom's going to last, 5, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, having that 3 to 5 year warranty it's just a no-brainer for people. It makes it just so much easier for someone to say, you know what, let's go ahead and dive into this. Looking right now at my life, I'm sure I have warranties on different things that I own right now. I can't think of one right now that I can be like, oh, I have a warranty on that. I don't know right now if I have a warranty on my vehicle. Maybe once if it broke down, I would go search into it.
What's a Kia, but maybe not.
No, but you have a Hyundai, so I don't know. But anyway, but that's a big piece of it. So so that's, I don't think that we think about it long term in that way. We're not trying to back out of this. We want to go forward. Everybody wants to buy. They just want to be sold to, right? So everybody wants to buy the new thing. We don't want to back out of it. It's just something that allows for the sale to happen in an easier way. Can you think of any warranties that you have right now?
There's warranties on appliances at my house.
Okay,
that's a big warranty.
But do you
my car has warranty on it for certain mileage and things like that.
But would you
phone?
Do you know them? Do you know
I don't know the specifics by heart now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. So if your car had an issue, you would go back and be like, is this under warranty?
Yeah.
But we're not thinking of ourselves in a way of trying to actually, because I'm sure at my house right now I have a new refrigerator, new dishwasher, different things like that probably have a warranty on them. I just don't know what they look like.
So with my Hyundai, when I bought it, it was I had to do it on like every 6,000 miles, which when you normally get your oil change, I get that for free. So I get free, I think, lifetime oil changes. I also get free paint touch-ups where if I get a scratch on it, I can go back and they'll touch it up at the time. So those are the little extras that, when I get my oil change, that probably, usually costs $45.
But they're also going to ask you if you want windshield wipers.
Which is not included.
Exactly. You want to get wiper fluid.
Rotating the tires, rebalancing the tires, that's not included.
Yeah, they're getting there so you can spend more money.
I've already replaced my brake pads. That's not included. So they sacrificed essentially $45 that they would have charged. It probably cost them maybe $10 in oil and labor, like not much. But now I'm in there for all these other things, and it got me across to buy a $35,000 car. So it was a really good move. And I think one of the things that a lot, it's why it's harder for a newer company, newer contractor to compete with some of the bigger guys. Like there's a guy, he's a A1, Tommy Mello. He does garage door repair. That's like his whole business. I think, I was listening to podcasts, and he'll do like $150 million in revenue. And it's because he does all this direct mail stuff and all these ads to do very low cost garage door tune-ups. For let's just say $100. We'll come out, we'll tune up your garage door, it'll be great. And because they're doing all the right systems and the right processes, they understand that for every, let's say 100 mailers that go out, let's say 10% come back and take them up on that offer, which means that now you have 10 people that go forward with the garage door tune up for $100. Now, of those 10 people, again, because it's systematized and they have the numbers, let's say 3 move forward with, replacing of the garage door because they realized it was a much bigger issue. And then out of those 3 people that replace the one garage door, one of those people replaces the other 2 or 3 garage doors on their garage as well. So it really comes down to every, let's say, 100 direct mailers that go out, one person is going to replace all their doors, 2 other people are going to replace 1 door, and 7 other people are just going to have the tune-up. And then now there's like that formula of 100 down to 1. So now if you do 1,000, 10. 10,000, 100. So it just becomes a math equation, and the money is in that list of people of, we're going to put ourselves out there, kind of back to TJ, knowing if TJ wants to be in front of 1 million people in here in Charlotte, let's say there's 1 million people here in Charlotte, the whole city, and let's say that there's 500 ponds that he could clean, right? So if he's going to get in front of 1 million people and he has the opportunity for 500 people may see his ad and 100 may act. And out of those 100 that may act, 50 may then actually buy from him. And out of those 50, 20 may sign up for ongoing maintenance. So he knows that if he shows the whole area, the 1 million people, 20 are going to sign up for a full year package. That's great. But if he only shows, instead of 1 million people, he only shows it to 100,000 people, that's 10x less. Those 20 that sign up for the 4-year package now only sign up, 2 people are signed up. So it really just comes down to, as you get bigger and bigger, and this is why like the biggest companies out there are really the the HVACs, the electrical, the plumbing, the people that are on more of the recurring service-based things, because they're not coming into they get their foot in the door with like a furnace tune-up. Hey, winter's coming, we're going to do your furnace. Then they go, by the way, you should probably get this thing updated, once every 6 months. And while we're here, we can do this and this. So you're gaining a customer for life. But unfortunately, most industries don't do that. And I totally understand it's harder in home building's a tough one, right? Because once they buy a home for you, are they going to buy another home for you right then and there? Probably not. But the people that that built my parents' home, they had them out a couple of years ago. I think they did like $250,000 worth of renovations to the house and stuff like that. And it's because they just kept in touch and they just kept them going. And they realized that they came back, but it was having those systems in place where, right now in this economy where there's, I talked to Todd Tribble the other day about how he's doing. And I was like, look, we just came out of the last 2 years, which is like the year of the contractor. how you feeling? He was like, I knew for as high as that was, like, it's going to come down at some point, right? It's going to happen. But, you know, he's like, I understand it, because that's the game right now, is when everybody wants it, that's fine. But when people don't want it as much, now what are you doing to get back in front of those people? And the beauty of this, if you're the contractor watching or listening right now, you're most likely on that side of, we want to build this thing for the long term. Those subcontractors that struck gold in the past 2 years, that have never focused on a brand, that have never focused on building the business the right way, and they just keep getting work. They had this high that they got stuck on, and they built this team, but they just thought, this is always going to last. Maybe it won't last as this much, but it's always going to last pretty far. But now it's starting to slow back down, and that's when the people that have been putting in the work, stepping on the gas, things like that, those are the ones that, let's say we go into a recession. On the other side, the people that have been putting in the work in their brand, you know, maybe right now they have 20 people on staff. Maybe we have a crazy bad recession and they have to get rid of half the people, but their brain is going to ride it out. So that rebound on the other side is going to shoot them back up. But those people that have 20 people that have never focused on the brand, they're going to have no work. Mm-hmm. Or if they do have work, it's going to be because their offer, going back to that, is so low priced that it's going to cut out all profit, which means that those 20 people are probably going to whittle down to 10. And then of those 10 people, it's essentially trying to stretch $1 across 10 people. And that eventually is going to slow down as well. So that's why for us, especially here at CGN, like, what are we investing in right now? Like, we're investing heavily into all of our content, right? All the things that build our own brand, because if shit hits the fan and crazy stuff happens out there and I have to get rid of every single person on staff and it's just down to me, well, guess what's going to ride out? The brand. And on the rebound, now, yeah, it sucks. I got to rehire everybody and do all these things, but the company is there and there's still going to be people that are seeing, like I was talking to a guy yesterday that does, is another marketing agency for contractors. And I'd never talked to him before. And he was like, yeah, I've been following your stuff since like 2019. I'm like, that's awesome. Like, that's super cool. Like, I appreciate you saying that, because like, it is, we do this show and it's not always like, oh, like we got to do it again. Like, we don't do a show. And then if we don't get 30 calls right now to do work, I'm not like, well, screw it. That didn't work. So it is this long game. And yes, we got to make sure that if we're doing the show and nobody's watching ever, and it's like, all right, well, maybe that is a waste of time, but it's playing that long game and putting our time and energy and money. We hired a podcast person to do a whole audit and strategy of our podcast, just our podcast, to see what's working and what's not. Same thing with the email marketing side. We have a virtual conference coming up in January. Write it down. It's going to be awesome. All about content. Instead of us saying, screw it, we're going to wing it, we spent 10 grand to hire somebody to come in and actually help us run it. And those are all things that I can't guarantee a lot of people show up. I can't guarantee anybody shows up, but I can guarantee that I'm going to put the effort in to make it happen. And, if we do the right stuff, statistically and historically speaking, it will happen, but I can't guarantee any of this shit. But all I can do is focus on what I can control, and that's hiring the experts to step in and go, look, this is what's happening. Logan, let's say all of a sudden, we did all this podcast stuff, and all of a sudden, podcasting goes away because people all of a sudden can't hear anymore. Well, now I just spent money on that, and that's gone. It's not going to happen historically or statistically speaking, but I'm going to do everything I can right now to put the energy and emphasis back into the things that are going to build the brand, because even when this shit gets hard at CGN, like I'll talk to Audrey and I'm like, yeah, it's not clicking right now. And she's like, well, are you trying to build the company for this year or for years to come? And I'm like, you're right. And then miraculously that, then when I focus back on the stuff that's in my control, it works out. And then even if it's not working out on the, we're doing crazy sales and stuff like that, it's still, I'm okay. And I'm at peace because I know that just like in school, if I fail a test, but I studied my ass off, but I did everything I could, I'm at peace with it.
And what you just described was like the next step after the the brand and the offer piece, which is really just making sure you're getting eyeballs on your actual business, right? So that's through putting out content. That's through making sure Google My Business
circles back to the beginning.
Yeah, it's making sure that people. That's so important. Make sure you're getting eyeballs on your actual business. And there's so many different methods you can do that, right? There's the influencer piece where I can reach out to other builders. There's the the ads piece. There's the content piece. There's the making sure that I'm getting reviews so that on Google through my Google My Business is taken care of. It's the email list. It's the podcast. It's the YouTube. It's
billboards. Hell, you could cold call.
Yeah, exactly. Cold call. It's the yard signs. It's the door hangers. It's all those different things. But I have to be cognizant to make sure that I'm actually getting eyeballs back to my brand, because I have to be thinking to myself, what did I do today to get it for my ideal client? What did I do today? And it doesn't have to, if you're so attached to this idea of likes or like views and stuff, it's gonna be a hard battle, because once again, that's not something you can control. But it is, and maybe it's encouraging when you hear people say, hey, I've been following you since 2019. Or hey, we're at a conference all the way in, I don't know if it's in Tampa or if it's in California, wherever it may be.
Yeah, you're in LA and people were like,
I
already follow you on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look at I saw this channel. Oh yeah, I remember you from this video, X, Y, and Z. So like that's impactful in that way. The two things I want to really talk about after like getting eyeballs in your company is just pretty much, there's two factors that people right now are really kind of calling and talking about. And one is ads and the other one's SEO. Neither one is right or wrong. But I think we need to understand what's actually happening in each one of those avenues so that you can understand. With ads, just understand that it is a pay-to-play game. You're always spending money. Once that money is spent on an ad, it's really gone. Yes, there's some factors of your running ads so that you can build some brand awareness and things like that too, but you're spending that money and you're paying to play. What I see it as, what I would recommend for people to see it as is like, it's a supplemental piece that you have to, maybe not have to, but you can utilize in the short term, right? We have clients, Ben is one of them, who actually still uses Home Advisor, which is fine because he utilizes it in a way that's actually beneficial for him. And you can use ads in a similar way, but just understand that you're having to consistently put money into this machine in order for, to turn into something. And that sometimes is not what everybody wants to do long term. When I think of SEO,
well, real fast on the ads, to break it down, there's really like two types of ads that we like to look at it. And one is a demographics based ad and one is more of an intent based ad. So the difference here is Google. You put money into Google and it's, I want an ad to pop up whenever somebody searches for landscape company near me. Well, that is somebody that has intent to hopefully find a landscape company. So when they're typing that in, we want to trigger this ad.
And also on Google, people are going on Google with the intent to buy something.
Yes, so that would be that side of the aisle, which is those types of ads. You also have like local service ads, which is like, like that's a thing as well. So those are more intent-based ads. Now you have the other side, which are gonna be more the demographics targeting ads that are really more focused on, look, I know you didn't specifically look for this one thing, but you are of the right demographic, and based on, it's starting to go away more because the
amount of data you can get from
the
people.
data is going away, where it used to be like, well, based on who you are and the things that you have done online, we want to show ads to you. It could be, for example, with TJ, back to the pond side of things. He may say, look, I'm going like on Google. Anybody types in pond maintenance Charlotte, I want an ad to pop up. That's intent based. Or he just says, all right, I want to target homeowners that are, in the top 5% of income that are in these neighborhoods, and I want to show them an ad on Facebook. Well, those people didn't go to Google and type in pond things. We just showed an ad on Facebook that maybe it's just him talking about how to clean a pond. And then from there, he can say, all right, everybody who then clicked on this ad, the chances or the realistic aspect that somebody who's going to click on an ad or watch, 5 minutes of a video of how to clean a pond, those are most likely pond owners, because if you don't own a pond, you're not going to watch that. It'd be like if I didn't own a car, would I watch, how to rotate my tires myself? Yeah. Probably not. So then he can say, all right, based on that, now I want to show another ad that's like, hey, you probably own a pond. Do you want to work with us? So you have the intent-based ones, and which is all marketing. You've got, intent-based, which is, really Google.
Bottom of the funnel, people looking to buy.
Yeah, and then the other side, which is more of the demographics, which is, all right, I know that every single, I know that everybody who drives on the highway out here is on their way to work, which means that they probably have a job, which means that they probably have an income. I want to show a billboard, or maybe, Geico's right out here, and if you're driving on the road and you see a Geico commercial for car or a billboard for car insurance, it probably makes sense because you're driving, you probably have car insurance. Let's show a car insurance billboard. So those are the different types of ads.
Yep. Okay. So love that. So, and then the other aspect is now becomes SEO.
Yep.
And the way that I really would love people to think about SEO is really it's a utility bill. It's something like if you believe in the internet, you believe that it's a big, powerful platform you actually can be able to find and attract your ideal customer on. It's here to stay. That whole idea is, well, it's a utility bill that I need to put money into on a consistent basis, and it's a long-term thing. I wish that it could happen overnight. And we've seen it over here. Any person that I've ever seen have like a quick fix SEO situation that has like a quick little high, it always goes back down. And it's frustrating to see because it's like, gosh, I just wish that, like, that's one thing that I'm so proud of that CGN does, and not to beat ourselves over the chest. Like, we've had the shiny object that's out there where we can say, okay, we can try to game the system in a little bit or try to cheat the system in a way to kind of bypass the kind of the hard work or the things you got to get done. But Google is, Aaron said this one day, and I really align with it, but realistically, Google doesn't really want SEO to be a thing. They just want the most accurate representation to show up. They don't want to be able to like game the system to be able to like put in different inputs so you can show up higher. No, they just want the most reputable answer, most reputable company to actually show up in search. And so when you do these, get rich quick kind of schemes through Google, they have historically been smarter than you and shot you down. And so it should be a utility bill. You should be putting out content in that way. And so it may take 18 months, 2 years to actually get the actual traction that you're hoping to have to actually turn into real leads in a consistent way for you. But understand that if you don't start now with the SEO game, it's going to be harder in 3 months from now. It's going to be harder in 8 months from now. It's going to be harder down the road to actually get this stuff done. So you've got to be investing into your business in this way. And marketing itself is its own function, is its own like department in your business, and you should be giving energy and effort towards it. And so the one thing I say is, if I understand this is going to take 18 months, 2 years, the factor
and real fast, that's like for like the real results to like, okay, this is, like I think we've been doing SEO with Joe Fry for probably 18 months now, and last year we had a podcast with him. Last year he did 390 grand in revenue, and this year he'll end up somewhere between 1.2 and 1.5. And we can see his numbers this year took off. So it's really because there's different levels of SEO.
Yeah.
And you can do quick stuff. So like the Google business profile is an aspect of local SEO that in your proximity right where you are, like it's good. So like this year with TJ, like that's what helped get his SEO off the ground initially because it was all focused on local stuff like that. But if you look at Premier Ponds, which we've been doing blogs for now 8 years, that SEO is very different where TJ is going to show up for, in the first year, a lot of terms that are like pond company near me, right? Stuff like really more buying intent, which is in our minds what we want. But the benefit of Premier is Premier has such a consistent stream of leads that come in from Google because they are hitting people at different levels of, TJ's getting found for pond maintenance company, and Premier is getting found for how do I clean a pond in addition to the pond maintenance company, but how do I clean a pond? Those are people that are maybe a year out. So last year when they found that article, they said, I'm not going to call them this year because I'm going to try to do it myself. And then when a year goes by, then they're like, screw it. This Premier company helped me out. Last year I did it myself. I don't want to spend another Saturday and Sunday doing this. Let me just call them and have them do it. And they're the ones that are getting the goodwill because they helped. So there is levels of like what you can expect in the first X amount of times. And, for us, when we step in and we do, a lot of times, like the first thing anybody asks me about of like, even when I went up to Maryland for the, battleground hike and truth hike and stuff, there's people that were like brand new in business and they were like, what do I do marketing wise right now? And I was like, right now, just focus on your Google business profile, get that completely filled out, looking good, and then focus on getting reviews in the door. That's going to help you out a lot. Now, it's not going to help you out for people, the other 96% of people that are not looking to buy right now. It's not really going to help you have this wide net because there's a big proximity, like geographical location, where if we're here and then somebody's searching for our services 20 miles away and there's 15 other companies in between us and them, well, we're not going to show up. We'll show up really well right here. So there's aspects of that, but if we really want to kill the game and do well, like there is that level of it's going to take 18, 24, 36 months. And it's funny, it's like the newer companies always play on that get rich quick now scheme. It's essentially trying to make money by just playing Powerball and only the Powerball. Yeah. And yes, you may strike gold, but think of all the people that win the Powerball and then they go bankrupt because they don't know how to handle the money. They didn't do what it took. Like they didn't build it. They just got rich quick. The bigger companies are the ones that recognize that, when the going gets tough, we just double down on all the brand building things and we just stay consistent with it because we know it's going to bounce back. Those companies are the ones that going into whatever we're going into are the ones that are thinking, all right, like we've been through this before several times. We're going to be okay. And just keep focusing on what we can control. And that's where the SEO side comes in, where the best time to do it was, 8 years ago. The second best time to do it is now. If you start SEO today, are you going to have 1 million leads by tomorrow? No. Yeah. Because if you're number one on Google for all these things, but nobody is hiring the services right now, it doesn't matter how number one you are. But when your ideal client is wanting to buy from you, you're going to hope like hell that you had done the SEO thing, because then you're going to be number one.
And that's why I say it's a utility bill in that same way. And because it's going to take, like you said, multiple years for it to be able to get the end result that you're actually looking for, then one thing that I would say is make sure that you're creating content that's not just for blog's sake, right? And one thing we do over here is like, assignment selling, or so that actually you can actually utilize that SEO content in your sales process. Use that SEO content to make it easier for you to be able to have those interactions with your customers. So having utility for that, because it's going to take some time, make sure in the right now you still have some utility for it as well. So just to kind of recap, if you're looking to be able to get leads, understand that the goal is for this to happen in a consistent method. All right, so the first thing you need to think about is, what am I doing right now to actually get these leads? All right, what actions am I taking right now to actually get work? The next step needs to be, okay, great. Who am I trying to attract? Who is my ideal customer? All right, you need to understand exactly who that person is, what services you're hoping to provide for them, maybe some price points, kind of like, you said the psycho and like the demographics as well. Those are things we should be considering. Then from there, you understand who you want to attract. You need to now think to yourself about your own brand. All right, how can I be attractive to the people that I want to attract? So you need to be thinking about your brand and actually building it out in a way that's consistent and also is congruent with what you're trying to attract as well. From there, also look at your offer, because that's super important in what people are actually looking to buy, how you actually provide that service to them, what things, what levers can you kind of pull for people to be able to say, gotcha, I'm going to decide use this company because I like their method in this way. All right. From there, now you have to get eyeballs in your company, different ways to do that. We talked about all those different things, but that's really the pathway you should be going down, because when this is all said and done, the goal is for this to be happening consistently. You're not looking for something just to happen right now where you can just, get through the winter. Your goal is for, okay, gotcha. Hey, let's get through the winter, but let's also make sure that we're not in this spot again in the future. So I hope that helps for people out there listening.
Cool. And last thing is, you say it all the time, but what are you doing today to get in front of your ideal client? And that's really, can't force them to buy, can't scream at them and steal their money from them, but we can put ourselves in a position where we are consistently showing up and saying, look, when you are ready, we're ready for you. In fact, sometimes, we'll do a lifetime touch-up. We'll do these other things to try to show you we're ready for you right now and take advantage. But if you just keep showing up in the right way, the same way that if you switch, a cheeseburger for a salad for lunch every day, over time, you will lose the weight that you're looking to lose. So just keep putting in the effort, find those things that are within your control, because if you're sitting here banging your head against the wall going, why is somebody not buying today? I can't figure it out. Just think about, what are you doing? And that in itself will put a lot of power back into your hands, and it may freak you out. But if it does freak you out, that's really good because it shows you that there's a gap in what's happening.